Welcome to Is This a Great Game or What? And our guest this week is my dear friend Harold Reynolds, former Major League second baseman, former teammate of mine, and now a guy who's all over the MLB network. Harold, this is my son Jeff. You haven't seen him in a little while.
I know, Jeff, you've grown up so much. Actually, I got a chance to see you at Tim's induction ceremony, which was really cool.
Well,
we had our T-shirts on,
yeah.
Go Kirchin, we had it. We had it all.
Let me tell you, though, I have to say, Harold, I hope this doesn't embarrass you. We gave Harold a shirt, and it was if it was snug on me, I would not look good. It was snug on Harold, and I was like, damn, this guy could go a size down, and he would still look great.
Well, Harold is in incredible shape. We were supposed to have Harold on last week, but he broke a tooth. Harold, what happened? How did you break a tooth?
Right here. It was crazy. I was playing football with my son. He's a quarterback in high school now. And he decides he's going to try to have me be defense. And I'm playing the defender and I'm chasing him. So he's supposed to keep running on a rollout and throw on the run. Well, I'm running after him, and I stop, and he stops, and I run right into him, and I broke my tooth off. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So that's how the whole thing happened.
Right. Jeff, look, Harold has the whitest teeth of any person I've ever seen. Harold, you've been told that many times, correct?
Yeah. I got to credit my oldest sister, Sharon. When I was a kid, she made us all brush constantly. She was obsessed with teeth. And so she made us constantly brush. So I give her credit for having white teeth today.
Right. You were playing with your son football. You were a great high school football player. You were a defensive back. Do I have that? Do I remember that properly?
Oh, yeah. I was more on the Deion Sanders side. I don't want to tackle nobody. I'll guard you, but I don't want to get hit. I'm just being honest because my friends will call in and say, come on now, you didn't hit anybody. So I'll just be honest with it. But I could return punts, man. I could guard guys. I picked off a lot of passes, but I wasn't trying to take on that pulling guard coming at me and bust through him and tackle the back. You can go ahead.
Harold, I always love asking, former major leaguers who played multi-sports, whether it's in high school or college even, was there also a part, like my buddy was the starting tight end on our football team, and he was so scared of breaking a collarbone because he loved playing basketball. He was the starting center, and that was his key sport. And he said, if I get hurt in football, I'm dead for basketball season. So was there ever a part of you that because you didn't want to be hitting people was like, well, I got to be ready for the spring for baseball season?
No, I never thought about getting hurt. I just didn't like being hurt. That hurts. Like somebody hits you, that hurts, man. That stings. I wasn't thinking about an injury. I was thinking about I don't want to feel that pain. But no, all the sports, I encourage every parent, every kid out there, play multiple sports. I mean, I look at even in baseball, I use baseball as an analogy, an example here, but a ball as an infielder going over your shoulder, catching it is no different than catching a pass. Being able to come up with a throw off balance is no different than a pass in basketball, a bounce pass, or making reads or leading people. Yeah, all the sports, there's some skill that you can get that helps you apply to the sport you're playing, and baseball, what we're talking about now, because of all the other sports, made me a better baseball player.
Right. And Harold, speaking of getting hit, I want you to tell Jeff the story about when you did the takeout slide with Buck Showalter in the studio in a three-piece suit, both of you. Tell the story about what Buck Showalter, the base runner, did to you, the second baseman.
Well, we were always trying to bring real baseball, which we still are, to the studio and to viewers. And so Buck was not supposed to wipe me out. He's supposed to just kind of go through the motion. I'll show what a guy's supposed to do. Camera rolls. He comes sliding in a suit at me. I'm jumping, and he's taking my legs from underneath me on a double play pivot in the studio. Like, what are you doing? But this, I should have known better because this is the same guy that was showing everybody on national TV how to cork your bat. He had a hole. He got the whole lay. He drilled the hole. He got the Super Balls. He showed everybody how to cork a bat. So it was fun. He just did some crazy things. Now, you think that was something. I go to MLB Network, and Eric Burns runs me over. So I'm sitting in a chair, and we're acting like there was a ball hit down the line, and it went underneath the bench. And all the guys on the bench kind of got out of the guy's way and let him reach in there. And Eric Burns like, no way, you sit there, you don't do anything. You make him go around you or go through you. And I'm like, all right, I'll be you, Eric, and you show me what you would do. Well, I'm not expecting him to clean my clock. I'm sitting on a cooler, and I catch him out of the corner of my eye like, coming full speed. And so I rolled to take a bit of the blunt of the blow, but he just smoked me, knocked me out of the chair. I'm like, what are you doing? So Buck, Burns, I guess you got to have a B because these guys don't know what they're doing. And
that's crazy. A fool me once, fool me twice kind of situation, it seems, Harold. You're like, at this point, I'm done. I'm not taking strike three. I'm not doing any more demos where I'm going to get wiped out on national television.
Right. And
you got that right.
Harold, thinking about getting hit, tell Jeff what you used to think to yourself or say to Bo Jackson in his prime when he used to get on first base in a day where it was allowed to kill the second baseman. When Bo got on base, what would you do?
I would turn to Bo and I'd say, this is not football. This is not football. And he'd look at me, and I was serious. I was dead serious. You know, I can share a couple since we're talking about Bo. The greatest feats. We're all talking about Ohtani, what he did last week, and it was incredible. I still think one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. The guy throws a ball 100 miles an hour, then hits a ball out of the stadium. Who does that? It's incredible. But Bo Jackson, everybody asked me about the throw from Bo and all that. And so he throws me out in Seattle, catching the ball off the wall, throws it all the way in the air. And so you've seen it a million times. If not, you can Google it. So after that, we bonded off of that thing. So you get a chance to see him play. He runs over Bosworth. He runs by Kenny Easley, and he scores that touchdown. So a year or two later, we're taking early BP in Seattle. And Bo's now somewhat of an established big leaguer, and he's an international star. He's talking trash to me all the time because he's telling me how he threw me out. He's constantly bringing that up. And he's like, so I'm hitting extra. I'm early hitting. And he's like, switch hitter. Switch hitter. And so I finished my round, and we're done. I was the last hitter. He hops in for extra BP. And he's hitting, and he's taking his swings, and he's hammering balls in the Kingdom just all over the place. And he goes, switch hitter, Reynolds. And I look at him, and he turns around left-handed. I kid you not. If I didn't see it, I wouldn't believe it. And he hits a ball in the fifth deck in the Kingdom.
No. Lefty.
Left-handed. I've seen, in 10 years, I saw 5 balls go up there. I'm talking like Willie Mays, Aikens moving forward. And Bo hit a ball left-handed into the fifth deck. And he drops his bat and goes, Bo knows.
Harold, I have heard 1,000 Bo Jackson stories, and you never told me that one. That is absolutely amazing, but not surprising. It's Bo Jackson. Harold, he was the fastest guy and the strongest guy in the game at the same time. Do you agree? And has that ever happened before?
He's definitely – I've never seen anybody like him. Let's put it that way. And I played in an era where Ricky Henderson, Paul Molitor, you name it. Yeah, there's unbelievable athletes. Ryan Sandberg was the number 1 ranked high school quarterback in the country coming out of high school. I mean, we talk about the athletes today. They're baseball machine athletes. These guys were athletes, like recruited everywhere. I grew up with Danny Ainge, who is the number 1 draft pick for the Blue Jays, plays in the major leagues and says, I think I'll go win a national championship in basketball, tries to do that, and goes on with an NBA career. I grew up playing against Danny. I mean, those are the type of athletes that were coming out in the 80s and 90s. So the statement to say Bo Jackson is the greatest athlete I've ever seen, it doesn't come lightly. He was ridiculous. Another story of Bo real quick. So we played together with the Angels, and he used to get on the plane, and he'd strip down to his underwear, all right? And so the first flight, team flight, we're there, and it's Bo Jackson, right? And everybody's looking at this guy like, man, this guy's cut out of granite. And this is after hip surgery and everything else. I'm playing with the Angels. This is 94. And we get on the plane, and all of a sudden he starts taking off his clothes. And we're all like, what are you doing? And he's just chiseled. And he goes, don't get jealous now. I know you guys don't look like this. Every flight he'd strip down his underwear because he'd get too hot on the flights, but I think he wanted to show off. He was freaking chiseled, man. Unbelievable.
Wait, he did that all the time on the flight?
Every flight. Every flight. Every flight. And he said the same stuff. Nobody talked more trash than Bo. He talked so much trash. Right. Constantly.
Well, Harold, you brought up switch hitting. So you told me the story how the Mariners made you a switch hitter in pro ball. Now tell Jeffrey what that was like, that you, a really good high school baseball player, is now playing pro ball. Tell us what happened when they made you a switch hitter.
Well, Jeffrey, speaking of Jeff, I had a scout named Jeff Malinoff who had worked me out. The Mariners had drafted me, and he said, hey, do you think you can play second base? Because I was an outfielder and a little bit of a shortstop. And I said, well, yeah, I can do that. And he goes, and can you switch hit? And so I said, well, I switch hit and wiffle ball. That was my knowledge. I said, it's harder to hit a wiffle ball than a baseball. And so that's how it started. And my first year of pro ball, I went out and I hit 296 in the Midwest League. Player of the year, stole 69 bases at 296, had 12 homers, 11 left-handed.
Wow.
And they told me, you're not a power hitter. So that was the end of me being able to hit balls out of the ballpark. But that was what I did my first year switch hitting.
Harold, you told me when they flipped you that you went like 30 straight at bats and struck out and just couldn't even hit it. Is that right?
I couldn't hit a thing. I mean, when I first started doing it, nothing. And then working over the winter, getting things going. And by the time I went to my first year of full season A-ball, Bill Plummer was my manager, and that was the year I put together. To tell you what the reps do in baseball so much, having all these different reps, Darryl Strawberry, all right? Darnell Coles, Darryl Strawberry, and myself. Darnell was the number 3 pick. I think the Mariners had the 3rd pick that year in the draft. Strawberry was the 1st pick in the country. Darnell was going to go to UCLA and play football, but he decided he was going to sign with the Mariners. Again, the two-sport athlete thing. Darryl Strawberry was going to go play basketball for Denny Crum at Louisville. At that time, Louisville was big-time basketball power. But he was obviously the number 1 pick in the country in baseball. So the Mariners and the Mets had what they called a co-op team. And we all played together in Southern California. We'd play USC, UCLA, all the junior colleges, all that before we go to spring training. So we spent about 6 weeks playing all the colleges in the area, and then they sent us all to spring training. Strawberry swung and missed and struck out every at-bat all winter. He never fouled a ball off. Now, we played every weekend. And after the games, we'd go play pool, the 3 of us. And we'd sit there and play pool, and Straw would have some of his friends come by, and Darnell and I would be on him hard like, Straw, you need to call Denny Crum. Here's a quarter. Back in the day when they had phone booths and stuff like that. Here's a quarter. Call him collect. He'll take your call. You need to call Denny Crum. This baseball thing is not going to work. Every weekend. Straw will tell you the same story. We laugh about it to this day. So the season comes, we go to A-ball. Straw goes and does his thing. He's training in Florida. We're in Arizona. And, you have newspapers. It's not like today. Nobody follows anybody on Twitter or whatever it might be. And the season goes by. Next year goes by. We're in AA ball. And I'll never forget Darnell and I were sitting there, and we're watching the game of the week. The NBC game of the week. This week, it's the debut of the Straw, Darryl Strawberry. And we're like, what? Are you kidding me? The last time we saw him, he couldn't foul tip a ball, and we're telling him to go play basketball for Denny Crum. We're watching the TV like this. Like, you got to be kidding me. That's really him. That looks like Straw. We thought it was made up. Like, here he is, Darryl Strawberry, playing in New York for the Mets at 20 years old. And we were just like, you got to be kidding me.
Harold,
we were blown away.
How did that happen? It's the hardest game in the world to play, and it seems like he picked it up in one season. How did that happen?
Man, once it clicks for guys, it just clicks. And that's where the reps come in, continually getting work, continually. And all of a sudden, you see it happen. Some player, all of a sudden, it clicks for him. Mike Trout, you look at Mike Trout. He got to the big leagues, and he scuffled. And then all of a sudden, it clicked. And we're looking at a legendary player. Shohei Ohtani, he couldn't hit his first spring. So let me tell you Ohtani's story, and then I'll let you go to the next subject. But I'm at spring training. It's his first spring. We were all probably there. I'm sure you went down, Tim, as well.
Sure, I was.
And I walk into Tempe Diablo, and I trained there. That's where the Mariners used to have spring training. That was our spring training complex. So I'm used to seeing more balls with land and things like that. And that's what I love about the old ballparks. You can go somewhere and go, oh, that's where a ball that Mickey Mantle hit. Ted Williams hit one there. We're losing those parks now, but that's what's kind of cool about it. That's what's cool about Ohtani hitting one out of Dodger Stadium the other day. Willie McCovey and I can't remember the other. Only three people. I mean, think about Dodger Stadium.
Willie Stargell. Willie Stargell did that, right? Go ahead.
Yeah. That's been there since the 60s. 3 people have hit balls out of that place to right field. I mean, that's pretty cool stuff. All right. So I go back to spring training. So I walk in, Ohtani's second day with the Angels. And I walk in, and Justin Upton and Mike Trout meet me. And they look like little kids at Christmas. They're like, Harold, this guy has hit the furthest balls I've ever seen hit in my life. And I'm like, you're Mike Trout. And Justin's going, I'm telling you. I'm like, hold it, you two can hit some balls a long ways. And they start pointing to the rocks in left center field. Now, I've never seen Ohtani. And Mike's going, he hit a ball over the rocks in left center. And I'm going, but I heard he was left-handed. And they're like, he is. And they were like, it's the greatest power I've ever seen. I'm like, you got me kidding. I can't see this guy. And the first time I saw him, he's 6'4", he's big, and it's just like unbelievable. And then he's the fastest guy on the team. I mean, it's amazing, incredible stuff. So I had to share those stories. Go ahead. I'm back.
Oh my God, Harold, listen, the best interviews we do on Is This a Great Game or What is where we do a limited amount of talking. I have been so entertained by these stories. Ohtani, and I don't want to get too technical here, but the game he had in Game 4, is that the greatest performance of a Major League Baseball player ever? I asked my dad this question, so now I ask you.
Without a doubt. I mean, I'm looking at it like maybe historically in sports, because it's not, you can look at the numbers and everybody goes back, and we went through statistics and we pulled up Rick Weiss threw a no-hitter and hit 2 home runs as a pitcher against the Big Red Machine. That's fantastic. But he didn't throw 100 miles an hour and hit one out of the stadium in the same game. I mean, you think about it. He struck out the first 2 hitters of the game on 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. And then he throws a ball that breaks across the whole strike zone to strike out his third. And then he runs in there and he puts on all his gear and he hits a home run. And then 3 innings later, he hits one out of the stadium.
It's
Unbelievable.
it is unbelievable. Take us back. Tell us the story when you signed with the Mariners, because the Mariners almost went to the World Series, but you were there when they weren't quite as established. So what was it like as a young player in Seattle where they're trying to figure out baseball of the great Northwest? Tell us the story about when you went jogging in the street one day. Tell us what you saw.
Well, I tell you, I almost felt like crying that the Mariners didn't make it.
Right.
I think I would have cried had they made it.
Right.
Because, I got drafted in 1980. They came into the league in 77. I remember watching them on TV growing up in Oregon in the Northwest. And, so I get to Seattle finally 85, 86. I'm getting more established. But I get called up in 83, and then 83 and 84, I'm up and down. So I'm working out in the winter in Seattle, and I'm feeling proud, like I made it to the big leagues. I'm with the Mariners. This is amazing. I still remember our theme song, by the way. The Mariners are playing hardball again and again and again and again. Diamonds in the dome. Look at that baseball home. All right, that was the theme song for the Mariners. We constantly played it. I learned it. All right, so I'm in there working out in, some fitness place, what it was, a 24-hour fitness or whatever it might be. And I got on I'm proud of my Mariners t-shirt, and some old lady goes, "Oh, you're in the Marines?" And I go, "No, this is the Mariners. They're the major league team in town." "I'm so proud of you, Sonny. The Marines, that's really great." She had no idea the Mariners were a baseball team. No idea at all. That's how far they've come.
Right. Now, Harold, you also played for Dick Williams, okay? Jeff,
Oh, man.
Wait, as you know, Jeff, the managerial job in the game has changed as much as any job in the game. Today's managers are told what to do a lot of the time. Dick Williams, help me here, Harold, was the exact opposite. Tell me what it was like playing for Dick Williams.
Well, I hope you guys got some time. No, I have to preface it with this, because Dick's son thinks I'm talking bad about him when I talk about him. But I love Dick Williams.
And so
Dick
did I. So keep going.
He helped me become an all-star player. But he was tough, man. He was tough. So my first encounter with Dick, I got like 4 or 5 stories that I got to give you the background of him to tell you my favorite. So Dick would keep notes in the corner of the dugout, and it was like you gave an effort here, you tried to get a man over, it was a good at bat, good play. He used to say the situation will dictate what happens. I should never have to give you a sign. So if it was a bunt situation, I knew I had to move that runner, and I don't care if I had to do it with 2 strikes. I better get it down. That was my job. I better get that guy over. And there was many times I bunted with 2 strikes.
Wow.
And there was a few times I fouled out with 2 strikes and came back to the dugout, and he was looking at me like, good effort, because I was thinking the game properly. I mean, it was crazy. So we're playing in Chicago. Dick's just taken over the Mariners in 86. I'm playing second. Dave Henderson's in right. Alvin Davis is at first. John Cangelosi is the runner at first base. He was my roommate in winter ball in Puerto Rico. Me, him, Wally Joyner, we all lived in this connected place. So Cangelosi's about 5'6", wiry, wants to fight everybody all the time. So there's a ball hitting to right field. It's raining. It's a nasty day in Chicago. Dave Henderson's coming in. Alvin's going out at first, and I'm going after the ball. It falls in. I slide. I scoop it up, and I throw it to second because the runner had to hold. And it gets there, pop-up slide, bang, bang. Spike Owen catches the ball. He hits him in the jaw when he pops up and hits him. And umpire calls him out, and they start swinging. Him and Kanji, get off me, you hit me much, and they're swinging. You know, in those days they didn't kick anybody out of the game; they just let them hit. And these guys are just swinging. So actually, they call him safe. I'm sorry.
Right.
So Kanji's safe, and they're swinging back and forth. They fight. They break it up. Now Cangelosi's at second base. Well, in between pitches, I sneak over to second, and I go, Spike would have whipped your tail, boy. And I go back. And there'd be a pitch, and I'd come back over in between. I go, you're lucky, you little shrimp. He'd have wore you out. And go back, and he's leading off going, you're lucky you pulled him off, you know. And we're talking back and forth to each other. And so at the end of the inning, I come in, and Dick meets me at the top step. And this is the first encounter I have with him. I'm just happy being in the big leagues and playing. And he meets me at the top step, and he goes, if I ever see you talking to a player on the other team, I will yank you out of the game so fast you won't know what happened. And if you weren't talking to everybody out there, you would have had that ball in right field. Man, I'm on my heels now. So we go to Kansas City. George Brett hits a double off the wall. I've only been up a little bit. I haven't played. I'm not established. And George slides into second. He's standing there, and he's getting his lead, and he's going, how's it going, kid? When I first broke in, we wore the Royals out in our Major League debut. Phil Bradley, Darnell Coles, myself, Jim Presley. We all get called up. We play against the Royals, and we kill them. And they're like the Royals that are beating the Yankees and going to the playoffs and all that. So George had always been endearing to us and our talent. He's on second. How's it going, kid? I'm like, not saying nothing. He's like, oh, you're big time now, huh? Big time. And so I go over, and it's a dirt cutout in Kansas City because it's AstroTurf. And I act like I'm picking up some dirt, and I kick some dirt around, and I go, Skipper's all over me, man. I can't really talk. And I go back to my spot. I come in at the end of the inning. Marty Martinez is our infield coach who brought me all the way through the minor leagues. Now he's in the big leagues on the staff. And he comes down. I'm sitting at the other end of the dugout. He comes down and he goes, I don't know what Skipper say, but Skipper say to tell you, I saw that. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Reggie Jackson, this is the end of this piece, and then I'll tell you my favorite story. So Reggie Jackson hits a ball off the wall. My mom's favorite all-time player. He couldn't have been nicer the night before. Mr. Jackson, you're my mom's favorite player. Can you come into our family room and say hi to her? No problem. It's Reggie Jackson. I'm just some kid in the big leagues, you know? So he comes into the family room the night before, meets my mom, takes pictures. Oh, it's fantastic. He hits a double the next night. He's on second. He turns to me and he goes, hey, how's your mom doing? Wasn't that great last night? You know, Tim, you know Reggie. Wasn't that great last night? In other words, wasn't I fantastic? I came in there for you guys, you know? And I'm like, got my head down. And I'm like, Dick's watching everything I do. I'm not even looking that way. And Reggie's turned, body, actions like I'm talking to you. And I've got my head down. So finally, I just say, hey, Skipper's all over me. I can't say anything. Well, Reggie played for Dick for 3 world championship teams. He turns to our dugout. Leave the kid alone! I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. What are you doing? He's gonna kill me. I was so scared to death of Dick Williams, man. So a year later, I make the All-Star team, and I get called into his office, and this has gone on for a year. Like, he's on me like I couldn't do anything. I get a butt down. Everything I did, he was on me. Back up, did that. He loved his second baseman, though. They told me, Ozzie Virgil said, he loves his second baseman. All you got to do is catch the ball for this guy. You don't even have to hit. He loves second basemen. He had Dick Green. He had all these guys. He's listing the guys. He loves you. He may not act like it, but he loves you. So I just went with that. The next year, I make the All-Star team. And how I made the All-Star team, I was an alternate. So I get called into Dick's office, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I walk into the office, and Dick goes, you want to go to Oakland? That's where the All-Star game was, and I'm thinking, I got to spend my 3 days hanging out with him? What do I say? I'm like, well, yeah, I'll go watch the game. I'll go. And he goes, no, Johnny Mack has something to say. And McNamara came from around the corner and goes, hey, congratulations. You deserve to go to Oakland to the All-Star game. And I'm convinced that was Dick that fought for me as the alternate.
Oh,
That is so good. So good. Harold, you told me once, and again, not critical of Dick Williams, great manager, but you told me once he would go days at a time without even speaking to you when you were on the team, right? He would walk by you like you were a total stranger. Do I remember that correctly?
100%. Now, my last story, because I can talk all day on stories.
Please.
But he got to a point where in the second season, he wouldn't talk to the pitchers. He hated pitchers. he would walk down the aisle on the plane and go, 3 innings, that's all you got. And he just ripped guys. You got no guts. I put you in a situation. He's just going chair to chair, ripping the pitchers. And it got so bad that he would never come out on the first visit. We'd gone like 2 months without him coming to the mound on a first visit ever. So we're playing in Detroit. This is the final Dick Williams. This is the crescendo that brings it all together. So we're playing a game in Detroit, and it's Gibson, Whitaker, Trammell, those Tiger teams. And he comes out, brings in the left-hander, and this kid comes jogging in who'd just flown all night from Calgary in AAA and gets into Detroit early. And we're playing that afternoon special on a Saturday, and it's like noon, and it's packed. It's old Tiger Stadium. These guys are a playoff team. Bases loaded, no outs. And this little left-hander comes into the game, first time in the big leagues for us. And he walks Whitaker on 4 pitches. It's Whitaker, Trammell, then Gibson. He walks Whitaker on 4 pitches. Here comes Dick. It's been 2 months since he came out on the first visit. So we all jog into the mound like, what is he going to say? He gets there, and Jeff, you're the perfect target for me on this screen. You're the pitcher. And he says to him, are your arms tired? And the kid's like, no, my arm, it feels good. Nervous, Tiger Stadium's going nuts. And he goes, I didn't say your arm. I said your arm's plural. Because if you don't throw a strike to the next guy, you'll be flapping them all the way back to Calgary. And he's thumping him in his chest with every one of those. You'll be flapping them all the way back to Calgary. And he walks off. And I go, just throw a strike. And Trammell hits a triple, clears the bases, and next thing you know, Gibson hammers him. And oh my gosh, I never saw the kid again. They sent him down. I don't even remember his name.
And he never came back. I'm not surprised because that's the way that Dick was. That's the way the game was run back then. Before I forget, I went to Shea Stadium one day, and I'm walking into Shea Stadium. This is 30 years ago, and John Cangelosi was on the Pirates. I'm walking into Shea, and a guy asks me as I'm walking in, Mr. Cangelosi, can I have your autograph? He thought I was John Cangelosi. Well, I thought this was really funny. So I go to John Cangelosi and say, you're not going to believe, he doesn't know me very well. I'm at Sports Illustrated at the time. I said, I just want to let you know some guy asked me for an autograph thinking I was you. And John Cangelosi got furious and just walked away from me like this dinky little midget sports writer. Someone thinks that I am him. He was furious, Harold. Does that sound right for John Cangelosi? Is that him?
100%. And this whole thought was, he's not as good looking as me. He's not as jacked as I am. I can't believe this.
They pulled him off me. I would have beat his ass.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, Harold,
that's what made him great. That's why he got there. It was so funny. But he was really only about 5'6".
Yes,
5'7".
He was short. He was taller than me.
Yeah.
Tell Jeff about the time you faced Nolan Ryan as a young player and tell what happened when you faced the great Nolan Ryan.
So Nolan had thrown 2 1-hitters against the Mariners one year in April and again in September, and I got both the 1-hits. And so the next year we're facing him, and his last throw, he would always lob his last pitch, and they'd throw it down. And while they threw it down, he'd be on the mound, stomping the mound, making sure it was the way he wanted it. Well, I'm leading the game off, and he's now walked up towards the circle at home plate, and he says, "Don't even think about bunting." I never bunted on Nolan. I was like, you didn't ask a question if it was a ball or strike. You just got in the box against him. And I never bunted, ever. So, sure enough, I get to a 3-1 count, and I didn't hit many home runs. But I'm standing right on the plate like, okay, old man, let's go. And I'm standing where I'm uncomfortably close to the plate. But I'm making you think I'm going to bunt on you? I'm making my stand. So I'm standing there. And the first pitch of the game, he flipped me with a fastball. So now I got to stay where I'm at. So I go to a 3-1 count, and I channel my inner Reggie Jackson, throws a fastball, and I hammer it. And it's going fair, and it's a home run. And I'm standing there watching it like, yeah, and it goes foul. Now I'm like, he's going to kill me. So I'm just like, if he throws a strike, it's a strike, but all I'm doing is thinking about getting out of the way. 3-2, I'm just thinking about getting out of the way. Ball 4, he walks me. So I steal second. He's screaming at me. I steal third. He's going. He's just cussing up and down, just going nuts. I score. So the next day, he's out running his sprints. And he's always running his sprints and getting ready for his training and all that. And we're out in the outfield now playing catch. And he jogs by me, and I kind of make eye contact with him. And he goes, "Way to compete yesterday, kid." And I went, holy smokes. Nolan Ryan told me, way to compete. It's the greatest thing ever. So Randy Johnson was wild, couldn't throw a strike to anybody. Tim, you probably saw him when he first got called up.
Of course.
Amazing. So the true story, he met with Nolan Ryan, and that kind of flipped his whole career around. But what Nolan told him was Randy was always afraid, at least as I know, that he would hurt somebody because he threw so hard. So he didn't want to hit anybody. And Nolan was like, it's their job to get out of the way. So the next time you go 3-0, you're probably going to walk them anyway. Throw it at the batter, and they'll get out of the way. And then you'll figure out they can get out of the way. So 3-0 count, you start throwing at guys. They just get out of the way. And it gave them the confidence to realize they're going to get out of the way if I threw a ball at them. We go to Texas after meeting with Nolan, strikes out 17. And that was the beginning of the unit.
So it was Nolan Ryan saying, "Don't worry about hitting them," that really turned it's not like, hey, you need to throw more strikes. He's saying you got to throw fewer strikes and you can hit a guy and that will make you better.
Yeah, because Randy had this fear he was going to hurt him. And it's like, they'll get out of the way.
Amazing.
Wow. So, Harold, you talked a little bit about, the conversations you had as a second baseman, but as a base stealer, and the rules have changed now in baseball, how many times people can throw over and all this stuff. But as a base stealer, I'm sure you had a lot of communication, either like you did Nolan Ryan from a distance or with a first baseman who's kind of messing around with you. Do you have any relationships that you created, good or bad, or conversations that you remember with either pitchers or first basemen?
Yeah, I got two quick stories. So one, I never really talked a lot of trash on the bases, but Ricky Henderson used to tell me all the time, "You can't hold me. You can't stop Ricky." And he'd be leading off second. I'd be holding like a first baseman. "Ricky getting ready to go. Going right here. You can't stop Ricky. Ricky going." And he would run on that pitch. He would do that all the time, talking trash. The other guy was Robbie Alomar. And Robbie would always tell me what guys did. Hey, look at his glove, look at his this, look at his that. So Jack Morris had one bad year where he lost like 17 games. And I remember going into Toronto, and then we'd go from Toronto to Detroit, and Robbie'd be like, "Hey, you got his pitches?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "When he brings the ball to his belt, it's a fastball. When he goes below his belt, it's a split. And I was like, holy smokes, but don't tell anybody because we got to light this guy up. And so the whole league knew what Jack was doing. And that's kind of how that got around.
Wow.
So Robbie used to tell me things about pitchers. So the only time I really ever got in any trouble was I'm playing in Baltimore at the time for the Orioles. Got the green light, and Johnny Oates was like, we have one sign. It's the stop sign. And it's to cover the Oriole bird. Third base coach would cover the Oriole bird. That means don't run. But Cal Ripken had his own hit and run. Tim, you familiar with this? Did you know that?
I am.
Yeah, he used to put on his own hit and run sign, Jeff. And so it would be like, reach down, grab some dirt, go above the barrel. He gets back in the box. It says hit and run. So I'd be on first base, sitting in front of Cal. I would have to look at the third base coach, see what sign it was. Then I have to look at Cal and see if Cal put something on because his sign would supersede the third base coach. So I get the don't run from the third base coach. Cal puts on the hit and run. I got to run. All right? So here comes the pitch. He fouls it off. Now, our dugout is on the first base side. And Johnny Oates is screaming at me. It's the easiest sign we have. And now he's going like this. It's the easiest sign we have. He's screaming at me like, how did you miss that sign? So I can't tell him. I had to run. So a pitch goes by. I don't run. He's still yelling. And Cecil Fielder's playing first base. He goes, I guess you're not going anywhere, are you? And so that's how loud he's yelling. So then Cal gets in a favorable count and puts on the hit and run again. Boom, base hit to right. I end up at third base. It's first and third. Harold Baines comes up. I score on a sac fly. Johnny meets me as I'm coming down the dugout. It's the easiest sign we have. He's still pissed off even though he scored a run. And now we go down the tunnel and he is going off. And I said, Cal put on the hit and run. And he goes, oh. That was it. That was it.
I can only imagine.
So Cal Ripken, I'll tell you this one. You've heard a million Cal stories. I'm thinking of Shohei Ohtani and the strength and all that. We're in Oakland, and Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson come out to work with Cal. He's scuffling. This is the beginning of 1983. And then he gets going after that. Beginning of the year, we're in Oakland. Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson show up in the clubhouse. I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. These guys are here for early hitting. Get the chance to hit with them. So they go out. They got this big bucket of balls. And they set the balls between them. And Brooks and Frank are standing in the left-hand batter's box, and Cal's hitting in the right box. And they'd put a ball on the tee. He'd take a swing, and they'd all talk amongst themselves. It was the coolest thing ever. But Cal starts getting into a groove, and he's hitting balls off of the tee into the seats in Oakland. I mean, it's like, boom, and then you hear this clang, 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 clang. And I'm like, holy smokes, he hit the ball in the stands? And pretty soon he's on this roll. He's hitting not 10, 15, 20 balls into the seats. And he must have taken about 100 and some swings. And they're talking in between swings, and he's taking a swing. Boom, 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 left center, right center, off the tee. I'd never seen anything like that in my life. So now there's balls scattered everywhere, and we're all out there shagging, and then they grab some towels, some water, and they all walk in. And I'm like, oh, I need to fix my swing. That was it. They flew in just to work with Cal. Incredible.
Jeff, as you know, the reason you can hit a baseball so far is the velocity helps propel the ball that far. Hitting a ball off the tee, Harold, that's unbelievable. Guys try to do that with a fungo off a tee and can't do it. He did it repeatedly. That's how strong Cal Ripken was.
Yeah, it's from a strength standpoint, I've never seen anything like that ever.
Right. Amazing.
Ever.
Now, Harold, T-Mobile Park in Seattle is a beautiful place. I love going there. And I went to the Kingdome 1,000 times for games. And I always, look, it was what was it like playing in the Kingdome for you? And compare it to what it's like now that the Mariners get to play in that gorgeous ballpark.
Well, obviously, the Kingdome aesthetically was nothing compared, not even close to T-Mobile. But I love the Dome because you knew what the temperature was going to be every day.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still the Northwest. The weirdest thing was in the summer in Seattle, it doesn't get dark till 10:30 at night because we're up there close to that area of the world. And so it never gets dark. I actually played in the summer in Alaska from Fairbanks in the summer, and we played a game starting at midnight without lighting, without artificial lights. Okay? And it was light as the afternoon. You used to try to put curtains upon curtains so you could sleep and get some darkness because it never gets dark in the summer. So Seattle's an easy flight to Alaska, so we're not that far away. So I'd walk out of the Kingdome after a game at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night and still be light. It's the weirdest thing. So now, but T-Mobile, that park is just gorgeous. You get to see the mountains. You get to see the beauty of the Northwest. It's incredible. We have a mountain out there called Mount Rainier, and we used to call it Mount Majestic because it's so beautiful. And there's nothing like Seattle in the summer, in July, August. No place on earth touches that. It's incredible.
Yeah, I
Talk
agree.
a little bit about the fans, Harold. And I know this is hard given that they, just suffered a Game 7 loss. And
Yeah.
even though you cover the game and we're not supposed to play favorites, you played so many years. You're from Oregon. You played for the Mariners for years and years and years. What message do you want to give the fans about how they're feeling today?
Well, I was pulling for the Mariners the whole way, and I'm a fan. I've been a fan for years as a kid to play there, and then as an adult to follow it. It was painful, but I thought once we won the first two in Toronto, went back to Seattle, and lost the first two games, that was trouble. You have to win those games at home. Because I knew going back to Seattle, to Toronto was going to be difficult. But I was on a talk radio show with a bunch of New Yorkers, New York radio, and they were like, well, can you even consider this a successful season in Seattle? And I said, we're not New Yorkers. We were one game from the World Series. Yeah, it was a great season. Just perspective. It was an amazing year. And for that team to come that far, but I think when I look back, it was the ownership made a move at the trade deadline that I hope changed the direction of the rest of the organization, that they go, wow, it really helps us to benefit, that it took them this close to possibly going to a World Series.
Right. Well, Harold, we've kept you for 50 minutes. You have told Harold, I'm so disappointed in myself because you have told me 10 stories today that I have never heard, and I collect stories for a living. I thought we were good friends, and you hadn't told me some of these. It was absolutely priceless. Now all I can think about is Bo Jackson in his underwear on an airplane. It's unbelievable. Well, thank you so much, Harold, for joining us. You were delightful, and I will see you at the World Series, and hopefully we'll run into Jeff again somewhere along the line.
No doubt about it. Tim, Jeff, guys, thank you.